So the first one, I can only actually show you an image of, for the simple reason I no longer have it. This is the Uni-T UT81B, right? It's a single channel scope with a monochrome screen, scope meter type thing. Great wee rig. So only a single channel. That was a bit of a limitation, and because it was monochromatic and quite a small screen, there was some limitations on that I wasn't too keen on. And I will get back to the tablet because there's another item on the tablet I want to show you. And the reason I got rid of this is I had the opportunity to trade this. That's why I no longer have it. I don't generally get rid of my tools, but I didn't have the money to be able to afford this. Paul Danner was a huge influence on me when I really took an interest in auto mechanics. I actually signed up to his, as you all know, Paul started on, I don't want to call him Paul, that sounds like we're on a first name basis, Mr. Danner to me. I actually started on YouTube many years back, and I loved his stuff. And then he had transitioned to his premium channel, and I subscribed to that for a while. And of course, Paul Danner uses the Vantage in the early years, right? The first generation Vantage. Well, I had to have one. If he's got one, well, hell, I've got to have one, right? And these were really expensive at the time as well on the used market, and actually still command good money for good reason. Great tool. I wouldn't call it a 2-channel scope because it is only a graphing meter after all, but the facility in this thing is incredible, right? I'm not going to go through each and every feature of all of them, boys. Just a general overview, and again, the chronologically presenting the different tools I have and why I've gone to those different tools. So the first generation Vantage is great, but not really any good at looking at any higher speed signals. Now, when it comes to automotive work, which is just generally my pastime and my hobby, strictly from a DIY standpoint, you know, friends and families, cars type thing, there are no fast signals anyway. Really, the fastest signal I deal with is just the CAN bus, but that's a wee bit beyond the capacity of the Vantage, right? And again, monochrome screen, older style LCD, I guess it is, and it has its limitations as well in that regard, but great tool. Who influenced me to buy this? Mechanic Matt on YouTube had one of these at the time. In fact, still has it. It shows up in his videos from time to time. So once I moved into the Vantage, after I'd kind of thought, well, time to maybe move on to something else, maybe PC based, I actually ended up getting my hands on, and again, very reasonable cost. I actually ended up buying a Picoscope. And when I say a Picoscope, boys, I'm not talking about the big money Picoscope. I'm only talking about the poor man's cheaposcope, right? The 2204A. And what a tool it is, right? So I've only got these running in demo in the background, boys, because there's no point in actually having them active. What a tool the Picoscope is actually turned out to be. I think this was about $165 Canadian. Oh, and again, I'm kind of jumping around a bit. The Uni-T was quite a lot of money actually, and I think it's still about $2.25 for that scope. First generation Vantage, I think you can get one of them on the used market for a couple of $100 these days. And the Picoscope, I think I paid about $165 Canadian for this. And in all honesty, boys, I think capacity wise, clarity of image, the software's capacity, this is potentially the best tool in the bunch. So that was actually, I was influenced by yet another YouTuber, and it was actually Sandy Anderson who influenced me to actually get this particular tool. He actually was using it at the time, and I think Sandy still uses it from time to time. Sandy's got some nice tools these days, but I suspect he may still use this from time to time. Whether it shows up in his videos or not, I don't know. But it was Sandy Anderson who actually steered me towards the 2204A. Great tool. Again, you'd have to make up your own mind, boys. I don't want to say, you know, what tool you should buy. That's not for me to even say. But this is a great one to start with. doesn't let very many people down, I don't think. It's a wee bit more money than the next option I'm going to show you, because I thought, well, 2 channels, well, I need more channels than that, man. You know, it's all the rage. You've got to have 4 channels, right? And then I came across another video by Mechanic Matt. He was actually using the Mahantic 1008C. This is a great tool. Again, I've just got it in a demo mode at the moment. It's 8 channels. Unbelievably, for the money, I don't know. I really don't know how they do it, to be honest. That they can produce, Mahantic can produce this scope back in the day for, I think I paid $125 Canadian. And the major knock on it is the fact that there's virtually no memory buffer at all. So it's kind of useless in that fact. You really need to freeze your data and look at it effectively in real time. There really is no memory buffer. Strictly speaking, that's not true, but it's extremely small. So you're really dealing with real-time captures for the most part. That's the knock on it, and it's slow. So that's a great tool. Again, it was Mechanic Matt who was using another Mahantic product at the time. I'm not sure. I don't think it was the 1008C that he was using. Perhaps it was another one, but still, I fancied the look of it. The simplicity of it is actually very appealing to me, the Mahantic, and this remains actually one of my favorites as well. Does it compare with the Picoscope? No, it doesn't. But this has a simplicity to it for DIYers that is very appealing to me. I think I like things real simple, to be quite honest. Okay, so I want to actually cut back to my tablet here for just a second. So not really a separate scope itself, but software add-on, let's call it, that you can actually use. It's Android based. This is called HScope. This software is far better than Mahantic's original software that comes with the 1008C. Of course, you're going to need the hardware, and there's a small adapter. There's the specs on the adapter there if you want to actually read them. But if you actually get that, you can use your 1008C with the HScope software. And again, this is just in demo mode, boys. Nothing's running live here. Wow, fantastic. 2-channel. Far better than the original Mahantic software. Next one on the list here, boys, is Mahantic 2C42. This actually is known as Mahantic's 2000 series. It's a portable, as you can see, and that is the beauty of this particular tool. That's why I bought it. This being an all-in-one, not only is a scope, but it's also a meter. And if you get the D series, this is only a 2C42, but if you get the 2D 42, 72, 82, those actually have an arbitrary waveform generator as well. Two channel is very fast. I'm no big on the specs, boys, to be honest, but it's plenty fast. It can capture a very nice image of the CAN bus in operation without issue. And as I said, it's actually got really nice display on the digits as well with respect to the meter function. So that's a good rig. My only knock on it is this clocked in at about this was quite reasonable as well, fellas. I think it was about $185 Canadian. My only knock on this is I find the screen a wee bit too small if you're in the scope mode, especially if you're in the meter function there. These digits are extremely small. If you're using the measure function, if you're using the cursors, oh man, it's something else. And another knock on it is that its display in daylight conditions, completely useless. Brutal in daylight conditions. So, but other than that, I sound like I'm down on it. I'm not. It's a good rig for its portability. I mean, you can appreciate, you turn it on, and it's operative. What was the boot time there? A couple of seconds, and you're in operation, right? So that has its appeal. The clarity of the screen is first rate. It's like a high definition screen, but I'm nearly 53 now. I no longer have high definition eyes. So yeah, good rig. Would I recommend that if it was your first and only scope? Probably not. But as a quick setup tool, fantastic. The fellow who influenced me to purchase this one, because he bought one of the higher end models, but this is just a basic one, is his YouTube name is Dave Sturl. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Go check out Dave's channel. You've heard me mention Paul Danner. You've heard me mention Mechanic Matt. You've heard me mention Sandy Anderson. All of those guys have had an influence on me. But I would say, and there's a few other guys out there, Denny, Jeremy, you guys all know who you are. Dave Sturl has probably had the greatest influence on me, and he's probably influenced the purchase of all of these tools in one way, shape, or another, but especially this one. Dave picked up one of these. At the time, I was impressed with it, and still am. So Dave actually had a huge influence on me purchasing this particular tool. So if you don't know Dave, go and find him. Dave Sturl, Irish guy out of Belfast. Unbelievable stuff on YouTube. Snap-on motors. These things cost a fortune back in the day, as you well know, but they're getting to be more and more affordable. Let's say it was just fractionally more than $400, right? So it was by far the most expensive tool that I have. It costs as much as all the other tools put together, pretty much. But this is a great tool. The database is grossly out of date. It's only the 10.2, so it's one of the early models, I'm sure. But the software, holy lift, and the cost of upgrading the software is ridiculous. It's absurd for a DIYer. It's way beyond my reach. But it's still a great scan tool in the global mode. The graphing functions are fantastic. It's got a good library for how you actually use it. The meter is it's got a great meter on it. The clarity of the digits is fantastic. There we go. Let's try that. The daylight conditions, because it's an older tool, of course, boys. Know the brightest screen in daylight conditions, but the clarity of the screen in lighting conditions like this is fantastic. It's really good. I think it's Windows CE based. Internal, industrial use Windows version, I think, but yeah, ancient as far as an operating system, and these are becoming ever more ever more affordable on the used market. So for the meter and for the 4-channel lab scope, again, a scan tool. I think the database on this actually goes up to 2009 on some of the vehicles that are actually in it. It's still a great tool. One thing I can recommend that you do get yourself is a clamp-on amp meter, whether it be the low amps or, well, the low amps I think is the most versatile. Obviously comes in a higher amp capacity as well. But if you can get yourself that, you can actually do many functions with all of these tools, guys, right? The Mahantic or the Picoscope. I know there's a lot of Picoscope users out there on the user base, but they're really all great tools, including the little Uni-T that I spoke of earlier. Decide for yourselves what you can afford, what's the most versatile for you. That's the best part of having these tools. Is not only an investment in the tool, but as Ramon at Kentucky Home Garage would say, he's another great guy on YouTube. I have learned plenty from him. And he was actually a huge influence on me buying the Modus in the past. He's actually used that extensively. His line is, these are investments in yourself, not just the tool, but in yourself. And I wholeheartedly think that. I don't think that's an overstatement. I really don't. So anyway, I'll leave it at that, boys. This has dragged it already too long. I hope that made some sense to you. Get some books. Get the understanding behind you before you actually make a purchase. When you do make that purchase, you'll be that much more informed and more better equipped to get something that is going to be suitable for you. Maybe none of these are suitable for you, and these are all, with maybe a few exceptions, DIY level tools. So keep that in mind. I'm no professional, just a weekender, right? Right, that's it, boys. I'll leave it at that.